Hi, it's Lorna Rasmussen, and I want to talk with you today about something that I think is almost epidemic among women, and that is a lack of self-confidence. It may be that it's just in my generation. I see it less in younger people, but I still think it's very much endemic in our society, not just women, men, of course, as well. But I want to talk about two things. One is where it comes from, and secondly, how you can fix it. And I'm going to use myself as an example. When I was about 18, my twin sister and I, along with my mother, went to get my brother at prison. He was being released. And why he'd been in prison was because he had his very first episode of mania. He became diagnosed as being bipolar. As he was walking down the steps of the jail, out of his mouth came some of the most vile comments about women. We understand, myself, my sister, and my mother were the women who were picking him up. And he's saying things like women are stupid, you can't trust them, they're out to get you, just horrible things about women. And I said to my sister, I've never heard him talk like that before, but I have heard those words before, those exact words. Do you remember Dad saying those kinds of things around the kitchen table? And she agreed. Yes, we had heard those words before, and they came out of the mouth of my father. And so we thought, well, it's almost as if my brother had a tape recorder and he was recording those words. And then when he had the manic episode, out they came, almost like we were playing from a tape recorder. And that was kind of my understanding of how people get programmed. Here's what's interesting. It never occurred to me that had happened to me. It wasn't until 20 years later when I was grappling with not feeling confident, feeling like I couldn't do anything, feeling like I was a failure, that everybody else around me had a much easier go of it, that I was ever going to amount to anything. I certainly wasn't going to have any money. And I felt I couldn't do anything. Now, this is with a husband who thought I could do anything. He was my support. But I said, he would say to me, well, why don't you feel confident? And I said, I don't know. If I could figure it out, I would take the magic pill and I'd become more confident. It was at that moment that I realized that if my brother had recorded that information, my sister and I had also recorded it. Of course we had. We took in that information, and that information impacted us for decades. We didn't feel confident, even though we had a mother who was very intelligent, very accomplished. We didn't feel that we would ever amount to anything because we'd heard from my father that women were stupid and women couldn't do anything. So how do I fix that? Once I understand, okay, that's the source of my lack of confidence, how do I fix that? Well, I fix it the same way it happened to me. In other words, I reprogram. I erase those tapes and I tape over those tapes. For those of you who are young enough or old enough to remember tapes, it would be like an MP4. But if we're erasing that language that went in, replacing it with a new language, a new understanding of who I was. And that was called affirmations. And I learned those affirmations and the concept of writing affirmations from my mentor in life, Paul J. Meyer. What I'd like to do for you is I'd like to put together just a how to do an affirmation and some affirmations that you can use. All you need to do is click on the link below and I will send those to you. Because what I can tell you is in a relatively short period of time, I was able to go from feeling I could do nothing to feeling I could do almost anything, and feeling, more importantly, in control of my life. No one could make me feel bad. My father, my society, the society around me, nobody, because I had a mechanism for changing how I felt about myself.